I will introduce myself again, although you saw my name next to the link to the conference. I'm Natalia Tikhanovich. I'm the teacher of English in a PERM school number 22, which teaches mostly French language, and English is taught as the second foreign language. I'm here probably because I took part in many of the Olympiads before 2017 and was a winner or took second place or third ones. So I guess the organizers decided that it's cheaper to have me make the Olympiad than to give me prizes from time to time. This is, as you see, the 14th Olympiad. It started as a regional event, and now for some years it's been a international international competition of teachers from all over Russia and some places outside. The last year, which was the Olympiad, was held online, both parts of it, and the organizers probably saw that the scope of participants is much better. The access to Olympiad is easier that way, so that's why even the second round this year will be held online. Today I'm going to comment on the strategies of dealing with tasks connected with listening and vocabulary. And I will start with listening. I've chosen two types of tasks today. One of them is the multiple choice, which is very often used and traditionally used in many textbooks, in many Olympiads, in tests also, obviously. So the first one, multiple task. You had that in the first round, a text that you hear. All right, what's happened? The text that you hear and some questions to it with 4 options as possible answers. So what is the usual strategy when dealing with this kind of task? We, of course, read the task, which tells us who is going to speak. Maybe a little later about strategies, more about the task. So what is the task type? It's multiple choice, 4 answer options. Usually you can see a full sentence in a question, or sometimes it's a phrase, and the options can be both full sentences and phrases. The number of questions is usually 5, sometimes 6. The aim of this task is understanding sometimes details, sometimes attitudes and opinions of the speakers, of what they're saying. It's usually a longer recording, about 3, sometimes 4 minutes. Most of the times we hear an interview or a discussion, which means it's 2 or more speakers who are involved. It also means that some questions can concentrate on the opinion of one of the speakers rather than the other speaker. And usually the text that is presented is some genuine broadcast taken from a television or a radio program or a podcast. It may be slightly edited depending on the level, but usually if it is offered as an exam task or a textbook task, they record it with actors but retain all the original content. So the focus of the questions, as I said, may be detail. It's when we are concentrating on the specific information given by a speaker. And the speaker may give some quite complex detail when they discuss the question. And it means, and usually all the detail given in the options are present in what the speaker is saying. It means that when we listen to the information and try to define which answer is correct, we need to not only find the correct detail, but also understand why the other detail are not correct. So to sift through incorrect options. The gist, listening questions which concentrate on the gist, they concentrate on the main point made by the speaker or on the general idea for what the speaker says. And it means that sometimes this general idea or the point can be not in one phrase or sentence, but described by several sentences. Also, it can be a question about opinion. They focus on views expressed by speakers, and at this point, we may need to distinguish between the views of different people or concentrate on what the speaker says and define, is it the opinion, is it the view, or is it something else that the speaker expresses. And the last one is inference question. It's when the speaker doesn't usually say exactly what he thinks, but we need to build on the words of the speaker and understand what is the logical consequence of those words. And back to the task. So usually in the instructions, we see who is speaking. Sometimes the topic can be also mentioned. And of course, the topic can be understood from the questions and the options. Usually you have a bit of a time, around 40 seconds or even a minute, to work with the questions, to read them, to look at the keywords. But again, at this level, the keywords are not something for which you need to wait to appear in the recording, or rather it's for you to think how this content can be expressed differently, how it can be paraphrased, what you can hear in the recording, which will mean the same that is mentioned in the option. Because as I usually say again and again and again to my students, if you hear the exact word from the option, is probably a distractor. So if we look at the questions in this task, the 5 questions in number 16, the focus of the question is something connected to African runners, their success, and in relation to other runners and different competitions. In number 17, some farm will be discussed, and here the financial side is touched upon, the purpose of this farm, and the place where it is located, and the influence on the farm, the connection between the farm and the runner who will be speaking. In number 18, this is the attitude and feeling, which will probably be derived from the speaker is speaking about. And then we look at some children who are somehow involved, and their present situation or future. And last, the farm comes into focus again. And here we again see that maybe finance will be mentioned, some planning, and some past and present situations. What is the strategy of working with this task, taking into account that we will have two listenings? I find that the best strategy that works for me is to look at the questions, of course, read the options to get the idea what can be discussed there, and then just listen attentively and make notes. Try to jot down the most relevant information. And these notes can help then to compare. I can compare later the notes with the options, and during the second listening, check if I got all the details correctly. So that's what I'm suggesting you to do now. I will put on the recording. We will stop after the first listening, maybe compare some notes and try to discuss them, and then listen again to check. Okay, let's start the recording.
Part 3. You will hear an interview with Kip.
Okay, can you hear it well? I'll check the volume.
Keino, a Kenyan Olympic athlete. For questions 16 to 20, choose the answer A, B, C, or D, which fits best according to what you hear. You now have a minute in which to look at part 3.
All right, you have your minute or a bit more than that. I'll bring back this. It's playing.
In 1973, the Kenyan runner Kip Keino was in his world-beating prime. Today, he lives modestly on a farm, caring for dozens of young orphans. Kip, over the past quarter of a century, runners from the African continent have gradually established a stronghold on middle-distance running, to the point where the rest of the world has been starved to success.
I'm not sure that's entirely true. There have been exceptions. The British world record beaters Sebastian Coe, Steve Ovett, and Dave Moorcroft come to mind. It is true to say, however, that in the World Athletics Championships in Athens, African men won 11 of 15 medals at distances from 800 meters to 10,000 meters.
Exactly. Imagine if the International Olympic Committee ever opened the Olympics to all the best athletes instead of restricting each country to 3 representatives. And now, Kip, you won your first Olympic gold medals in Mexico City in 1968, didn't you?
That's right. And then again at Munich 4 years later.
You've made an enormous impact on athletics, but you've also done a lot to help the poorer people of your country. You've become a kind of icon to the people of your country and an example to all Africans. Tell us about your farm.
Every penny I ever earned from running has been invested in this farm, together with the profits from a sports shop I operate in the nearby town of Eldoret. I don't crave material possessions. The 50-acre farm is home to my immediate family, true, but it also provides shelter for orphans of all ages. There were 74 at the last count, but we will never turn anyone away. It's been this way for 30 years. I think it is important to assist those who need assistance. We share what we have. You see, in the world today, there are a lot of people who don't have any assistance. Mainly, we assist those who don't have any parents. For example, a mother dies in the hospital and nobody comes for the child. The child is not sick. Abandoned kids and others who live on the street, they have nobody to take care of them. They need education. They need to have a father and a mother so they feel like any other children in our society.
Your own mother died when you were very young, didn't she? What effect has that had on the way you help the children here?
I just want to spare others the emotional pain of growing up without a parent. All the children are treated as though they are our own. They are fed, clothed, and sent to school. But more importantly, they are loved. They will remain at the orphanage until they have finished high school. Afterwards, their decisions are their own. Some stay and some go. I'm very proud of them all. They have all overcome terrible problems, and I'm particularly proud of the way they work in order to get a good education. Some have gone on to become teachers, soldiers, doctors, accountants, and are themselves raising families.
Donations from Christian ministries and from private donors supplement Kano's own income, which has allowed a 20-room dormitory to be built adjacent to the original farmhouse. It has a library and a chapel. There are plans in the works to build a primary school on the farmland too.
So here I stop the recording, pause the recording. Maybe, well, some people can. Oh, yeah, but still I wouldn't. You think it's right? I think you think it's easier. I think it's easy for C2 level 2. Yeah, but I'm not sure it's easier than the Olympic one. All right. So, any notes on the questions? Then the demo, the second. I don't understand this phrase about the first round, that it was much easier than the demo, the second. The demo, okay, I guess they put the demo, they put into demo the last year's variant. All right. Thank you, thank you everybody for giving their opinions on the difficulty of our different rounds. Maybe some notes on the questions. In numbers, well, for each of the questions. First of all, what have you noted down about African runners? Will anybody care to share? All right. Success. Okay, in well, success of who? Because we have both African runners and British runners. So who has more success, for example? Was anything mentioned about learning from each other? Who learned from who? So success is too general a term to base the answer on it. Olga, thank you. You are giving the answer, but I'm asking for the content of the audio. For what if you give the answer, what helps you to choose that answer? What information? Yeah, yes, that's true, Maria. The interviewee. Well, we can. They African runners. A more complicated situation, which means probably that not all the competitions are successful for the African runners, like that. About the number of medals, yeah, 11 out of 15, to be more precise, and that happened in Athens, which is mentioned in option D. Thank you, Julia. Okay, so Natalia is commenting on the second. He keeps invested all his money into the farm, which means that he probably not takes profit from it. Provide some examples of the British runners who broke world records. Yeah, he does. He does provide some examples. Thank you, Maria. All right. Okay, anything else about the farm? So he uses his money on the farm. He finances it, actually. They joke on the Olympics, they do. They joke about what can happen if everybody will be allowed without country restrictions. He does, he lived there and with orphans. That's true, Irina. Thank you. Sheltered to abandoned kids. That's true again. Okay. Right. Let's move on to 18. What is his attitude? Again, feeling. Which word best describes his feeling? I guess it's the feeling about what he does and the farm. So about the future of the poor children, right? Yes, exactly. The tone here works very well. Yeah, the tone that he uses, especially when talking about orphan children. Right. Yeah. So yeah, and I think both the tone of the words and what he's talking about can help us to strike out things like nervous, for example, or pessimistic. All right. Now about the children. What was said about the children? They. Yeah, he has the same, similar experience to the children, right? Because he had no mother when growing up. Can stay on the farm or leave if they want. Can they leave or stay at any moment? Yeah, they are treated as part of the family, true, loved, taken care of. Exactly. After the graduation. All right. Thank you. Okay. Right. And can do anything they want after the graduation, and they can choose their way. Right. And the last one about the farm and its current situation and the future. This is the part where the interviewer talked about it. Yeah, thank you, Julia and Irina and Yelena for being active. Anything about the farm? None expect them. Right. Yes, Julia, thank you for for highlighting the expect part. Right. Yes, Kip provides some examples of people who got successful, and yes, of course, he's proud of them, right? Okay, going to develop the idea further. Want to build more things on the territory of the farm, exactly. Okay, so thank you everybody who participated with their notes. Here is what I've written down. So on the topic of number 1, they mentioned that why stronghold? They mentioned that the African runners were going very strong and kept their stronghold on mid distance. That's what the interviewer said. But then she commented that it wasn't exactly true. Gave examples of 2 British runners. But he never said that African runners learned from them or that they beat any British records. What he did say is that African runners got 11 out of 15 medals in Athens, and some year was mentioned. So options A, B and D are not valid here, are not correct, which leaves us with option C. And the 25 years, they were mentioned in the very beginning as the last quarter of the century. The question about the farm is actually quite easy. The interviewer said that Kip lives in a village with orphaned children in the very beginning. And again, it was mentioned after the discussion about African runners that it is a shelter for orphans. As for profits, Kip spends his profits on the farm rather than gets profit from it. The town of Adderall is nearby, but not the primary location of the school and the farm. And we don't know, he doesn't say that he stopped, that this activity stopped him from running. So this is option B is the correct answer here. As very correctly people mentioned, the tone of the voice of the speaker and what he discusses, the children who are without their parents, that their situation is difficult, but they also need a normal life. And education as everybody else, that makes the choice of compassionate as the only correct one. Also, very good notes about the children. So they are educated, but nobody forces them to stay on the farm. They graduate school and then decide what to do for themselves. They have difficult life before they go to the farm, but on the farm they are looked after quite well. And although there are examples of people who got successful with the education given to them, nobody particularly expects them to be to get a good job. They can make their own choices. They can do as they like with the what they were provided with. And again, the farm, actually all the options were discussed. We can't say that there's a plan to transform this farm into a school because it is already a school. There is a school there. It is financed not only by the church, but by other people too, donators. And we can't say that it will only be financed by the donors in the future, because KEEP is intent on going on with financing this his project by himself also. This again, but they talk about some plans to build primary schools and some other new structures, which means option A is the answer. As some people mentioned in the chat, this listening is quite easy for some reason, although it is marked as a C2 level task. Okay, but again, this one is quite traditional. Let's move on to one more task here. It looks like this. As you see, there are two tasks for one recording. So let's look. This is the type of task is two multiple matching tasks. In both tasks, you need to match speakers to some information. There are 5 speakers. For each speaker, there are 8 options in each task with 3 extras. And the aim of this listening task is to understand the gist of several short related texts by identifying main options and interpreting the context. What the text types, there are short recordings, about 35 seconds. They are monologues on the same theme mentioned in the, excuse me, I need to close the door. Thank you very much. Yes, on the same topic, in both tasks, since it's the same recording. All of them are examples of spontaneous speech, well, meant to be the examples of spontaneous speech. And you will usually hear a variety of accents and ethnicities, but this is the usual trend now in many language schools and institutions and textbooks, etc. A trend found in English teaching. Well, that's, the focus of the questions is very similar to the previous type of task, but a little, of course, there are differences. We again find the gist. So the question which focuses on the general idea that is communicated rather than on specific detail. Also, it can be the main idea, in contrast to secondary or less important points. It can be a feeling of a person, what kind of feeling is expressed by the speaker, the attitude that is stated or maybe implied regarding the attitude to something or someone, and the opinion expressed by a speaker, which can also be stated or implied. So it can be directly shown or only in relation to something. Well, again, this is 2 tasks. It can be a little bit overwhelming at first, and so many options with 3 extras in both tasks. And you need to do both for the same recording, which you'll hear just 2 times. Not 2 times for each task, but 2 times for both. So there are different strategies that are suggested for this kind of listening comprehension task, but one of them is during the first listening, concentrate on the first task, and during the second listening, concentrate on the second task. That can work for some people, but I find this a little too difficult, because with this strategy, you find yourself listening just once for every task and no opportunity to check your answers. The other strategy is very similar to what I proposed for the previous task, but here it can be easier done. That's to concentrate on the questions and make notes on the main topic on the question. So, okay, the first question is what each speaker did in their summer job. And the second, which benefit of having a summer job each speaker mentions. Probably it's of having that job they're talking about. So when listening for the first time, I'm again taking a piece of paper and, well, I took a piece of paper yesterday when preparing and making notes like in 2 columns, speaker 1, his job or what he did, his her job, and second column the benefit, this suggested benefit. So again, could you please take a piece of paper and when listening, let's make notes. Okay, and I need to switch to the next listening. Am I there? Yeah, summer jobs. All right. So the first listening, we are making notes on the 2 questions for each speaker. You need to listen for the things they did in summer, the description of their job, and the benefit that they mention.
You will hear 5 short extracts in which students talk about doing temporary jobs during the summer holidays. Look at task 1. For questions 21 to 25, choose from the list A to H what each speaker did in their summer job. Now look at task 2. For questions 26 to 30, choose from the list A to H which benefit of having a summer job each speaker mentions. While you listen, you must complete both tasks. You now have 45 seconds in which to look at part 4.
Doesn't look like this. Okay. Wanted to close.
Speaker 1.
My summer job was a lot more fun than I'd expected. It's true, the hours were long and the salary wasn't great, so I didn't manage to save much, but I really enjoyed meeting new people and showing them all the sights in my hometown. The customers came from all over the world. I even managed to pick up some new words and phrases from other languages. I can't say I want to do this as a permanent job, but I think the experience has definitely benefited me. For example, I feel more sure of myself these days. I'd recommend it to anyone looking for a summer job.
Speaker 2.
During the summer, I worked in a charity shop for 20 hours a week. At first, I found it quite difficult because I'm an outdoors kind of person, really, and I don't like being cooped up inside all the time. My friends thought I was crazy because I worked there for nothing, but for me, it wasn't really about the money. I still live at home with my parents, and I'm not too worried about saving up or becoming independent in the near future. What the job really enabled me to do, though, was make a decision about the kind of job I want in the future, and that's priceless.
Speaker 3.
I got my summer job through a friend. It suited me down to the ground because I hate working outside, and I don't mind working in evenings. In fact, I preferred the evening shifts because during the daytime, there were often children's parties, and they made a lot of mess, which I had to clear up. The people I worked with were nice, though I'm not sure I'll stay in touch with them long term. And sometimes it was awkward when a customer complained about the food or argued about the bill. But overall, I learned to handle these kinds of problems quite well.
Speaker 4.
I applied for a summer job and I was offered a choice between working in the cafe at our local leisure center or working in the pool, and I'm so glad I chose the latter. I already had all the necessary qualifications, so I knew what to expect. It was basically just a question of keeping an eye on everyone and making sure no one was doing anything dangerous, especially in the children's pool. I think I was already quite confident before I took the job, so that hasn't really changed. But earning some money did make me more self-sufficient. I wasn't so reliant on my parents anymore.
Speaker 5.
I'm quite lucky because my mum is French and my dad is German, so I'm fluent in 3 languages. This helped me get my summer job this year with a big financial company in the city. It was only for 6 weeks, but I really enjoyed the buzz of all the meetings, deadlines, and projects. Sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day is not easy, so I always went outside for a walk at lunchtime. I already knew this was the career for me, so I wasn't surprised that I enjoyed it so much. But what was a surprise was the amazing people I met. I'm sure I'll keep in touch with some of them forever.
All right, and here is Top. Okay, again, I'm expecting your notes on each of the speakers. They are probable summer jobs and the benefit that they describe as the benefit of working at the place they worked. Here the tempo was a bit quicker, but we don't need so much. Right, yeah, I agree. Speaker mentions the customers and showing around the city, right? And what benefit does he mention? Feels sure, right, okay. Thank you, Anna and Julia, Maria. Yeah, people from different parts, source sides, and more sure of himself, feels more sure, Julia. Thank you. Right. Okay. What? Meeting with new people was mentioned. Yes. Trying to pick up phrases. Great. Meeting with new people. All right. Okay. What about speaker 2? Worked in a charity shop, not for money, for fun. Yeah, great, Julia. Hates working outside. Yeah, so she liked being inside the charity shop. What about the benefit? Sure. Sure what job she wants to choose. So you made some decisions probably. Okay. The choice of career, outdoors, independent. Well, outdoors was mentioned, but she said she hated them. Experience will help. That was a girl to choose a career. Okay. All right. Great. Very good notes. Thank you. What about speaker 3? Customers complained, the quality, the bill, messy children, right? Cafe or restaurant, yeah, and we have a restaurant mentioned in the options. Worked shifts, cleaned something, probably the tables, yeah. Second shift, learned handle project, maybe not projects, problem. Problems. Now he can handle such problems easily, right? Learned to handle problems, dealt with problems. Thank you. Great. Oh, we have an administrator who is taking part in our conversation. Great, thank you. Speaker 4. What about speaker 4? What kind of job and what kind of benefits? Okay, yeah, had to choose between two kinds of jobs, right? And chose a pool with children, help people near the pool, and independence thanks to money. Keep an eye. There was that phrase, keep an eye on people. Made sure nobody did dangerous things, Maria, thanks. Became independent when she earned money. Yes, Julia, great, save money. All right, I'm not sure she was talking about saving money, or maybe she did. Doesn't depend on parents anymore. Great, Irina. All right. Okay, and finally, speaker 5. What does she say about the job she had in summer and the benefits that job gave her? Office, right? Office worker, because computer was mentioned, not outside, lunch breaks, meet some people, languages, big financial company, right? Met great people. As she said, she will keep in touch with them. Okay, thank you very much for everybody who wrote and continue writing some comments here. Let me show you what I've written again yesterday. So for the first speaker, showing the city, touring the sites, and he became more sure of himself. The second speaker, she chose charity shop, worked for nothing, and her friends commented on that, and she made a decision about the future job. Speaker 3, there was a mention of parties, cafe, children, mess, and shifts, and evening work. And he said he learned to handle problems by dealing with customers. Number 4, the girl talked about the pool that she preferred to another possibility, and she was to keep an eye on people who make sure they don't get into dangerous situations, and she felt self-sufficient after that. And finally, the final speaker, also girl, she said she worked for a big financial company. After mentioning she knew several languages, she mentioned staying a long time in front of a computer, but she also said that she met a lot of interesting people and she would keep in touch with them for a long time. So I will put on the second listening, and we'll be comparing everything. Yeah, so here are the options and the notes.
My summer job was a lot more fun than I'd expected. It's true, the hours were long and the salary wasn't great, so I didn't manage to save much, but I really enjoyed meeting new people and showing them all the sights in my hometown. The customers came from all over the world. I even managed to pick up some new words and phrases from other languages. I can't say I want to do this as a permanent job, but I think the experience has definitely benefited me. For example, I feel more sure of myself these days. I'd recommend it to anyone looking for a summer job.
Speaker 2.
During the summer, I worked in a charity shop for 20 hours a week. At first, I found it quite difficult because I'm an outdoors kind of person, really, and I don't like being cooped up inside all the time. My friends thought I was crazy because I worked there for nothing, but for me, it wasn't really about the money. I still live at home with my parents, and I'm not too worried about saving up or becoming independent in the near future. What the job really enabled me to do, though, was make a decision about the kind of job I want in the future, and that's priceless.
Speaker 3.
I got my summer job through a friend. It suited me down to the ground because I hate working outside, and I don't mind working in the evenings. In fact, I preferred the evening shifts because during the daytime, there were often children's parties, and they made a lot of mess, which I had to clear up. The people I worked with were nice, though I'm not sure I stay in touch with them long term. And sometimes it was awkward when a customer complained about the food or argued about the bill. But overall, I learnt to handle these kinds of problems quite well.
Speaker 4.
I applied for a summer job and I was offered a choice between working in the cafe at our local leisure center or working in the pool, and I'm so glad I chose the latter. I already had all the necessary qualifications, so I knew what to expect. It was basically just a question of keeping an eye on everyone and making sure no one was doing anything dangerous, especially in the children's pool. I think I was already quite confident before I took the job, so that hasn't really changed. But earning some money did make me more self-sufficient. I wasn't so reliant on my parents anymore.
Speaker 5.
I'm quite lucky because my mum is French and my dad is German, so I'm fluent in 3 languages. This helped me get my summer job this year with a big financial company in the city. It was only for 6 weeks, but I really enjoyed the buzz of all the meetings, deadlines, and projects. Sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day is not easy, so I always went outside for a walk at lunchtime. I already knew this was the career for me, so I wasn't surprised that I enjoyed it so much. But what was a surprise was the amazing people I met. I'm sure I'll keep in touch with some of them forever.
Part 3. You will hear an interview with Kip Keino, a Kenyan
Okay,
Olympic athlete.
Sorry.
For question 6.
It's playing on repeat. Yeah, and the last answer in task 2 for speaker 5 is of course H, making lasting friendships. You see, working with this approach really makes the task like easier, I think. Okay. Yes, this is a C-level task. Yeah, it is. Maria, yes, it is. Maybe it's a bit easier than the actual C2 exam task, but the difficulty, of course, comes from the 2 tasks simultaneously. But as you see, if you approach it in this way by eliminating actually the abundance of decisions that you have to make simultaneously, it makes it quite easy to deal with. Right. Okay, so we are done with listening. Well, as you may have noticed, again, different options are mentioned in, same options are mentioned in several recordings, in several speeches. For example, the language was mentioned by the first speaker when he talked about knowing different words. And the last speaker also said that she knew several languages. Also, working outside and inside was discussed in this by different speakers. The money and getting experience, saving. Well, for the person who said she felt independent because of the money, the option about saving money could look attractive, for example, etc., etc. So the distractors are also present here. Okay, so I think we'll stop here with the listening task. I will put away all the recordings and writings here. Well, we've been doing this for about an hour, so which leaves us about 30 minutes for vocabulary. Okay, vocabulary tasks are easy and difficult at the same time. They are, of course, easy if you know the words, and they become almost very difficult if you don't. The task that is traditionally used in many places, again in exams and in Olympiads now, both for teachers and children, and students is the multiple choice clause, where you which tests your knowledge of the word meanings, of the knowledge of collocations, idioms, phrasal verbs, linking devices, etc. Well, let us look at such a text. Here we are. The bliss of this type of task is that you actually have a text, and when you have a text, you can derive quite a lot from it. The second round will use such one of the types. Yeah, so this webinar is intended as a preparation for the second round. The demo does have one listening task. I didn't say you will have two, or maybe you will. The demo doesn't is not a like the it's not the exact replica of the round, first or second round. Yeah, it does. Yeah, the demo only does have one listening task. That's true. Okay. Okay, we are intending to give you one recording to listen. That's the that's the biggest part of information I can share. But the types, yes, they are these. All right. So the multiple choice clause. The task that I discuss the third year in a row, it's always the same, the text, the 4 options of words. The options which are given here, they are of different types. So first, let's look at the first question. The first gap is in the first sentence. Spanish animal life, as throughout Europe, has been to the devastating changes instituted by man. So there are 4 words, and you can notice that right after the gap there is a preposition to, which means that the chosen word has to collocate with it. Right. Yeah, and we have 2 people who already suggest prone as the answer here. Of course, they are right. Be prone to do something means to be expected to do something, especially if this is something bad that is the result of it. Bent means not straight. We can use bent in a phrase bent on doing something, but this is the wrong preposition. Partial means one of the meanings is not full, the other is compassionate, which doesn't suit the meaning of the context. And actually, I didn't know what tenable was. I had to look it up in the dictionary. Tenable means be able to be defended or held successfully, and this is not what we need in this extract. As I said, this kind of question, this kind of choice requires you take into account not only the meaning of the word, but the preposition it collocates to. So it depends on the grammar of the text. Let's move a little bit. The second question. You have again 4 verbs and another preposition to. So again, the chosen word has to take this preposition. Here, the verbs mostly mean a contact with something. So if grip and clutch means the way you hold something, embrace, it's either hug somebody or something, or accept, and cling means to hold onto something. And actually this word cling is the only one that needs a preposition. So this is the choice here. We can actually do it here on the side, prone and cling. Right, because you clutch and embrace and grip something without any prepositions. In number 3, it's interesting to see that we have 3 adverbs and only 1 adjective given us as a choice. Again, if we look at the meanings, precious precious is very valuable, prominent is important, precaution is a measure taken against something dangerous to happen, and the last one, precarious, it's likely to fall or be damaged. Looking at the context, we see that the text is speaking about the dangerous situation of animals, so probably precariously would be the best choice which can be taken here. So in precariously small numbers, the small numbers are dangerous in this situation because it threatens the survival of the animals. This kind of question gives us the words that which only are different in meaning. The structure here doesn't help. You need to know what they mean, in fact. Right. Okay. Next one. So it's number 4. The 4 nouns here all denote some buildings or parts of the building. If you look at them, probably the one which will go away instantly is the manor, because a castle, fortification, bastion, all connected to defense during the war against the enemy or some threat, and manor is just a type of a house. Then turning back to castle, fortification, bastion, only one of them is actually a building. Fortification and bastion are some parts of a building. And the last thing here to choose would be bastion, because only this word has, apart from the part of the wall of a castle, for example, can mean something that keeps or depends or defends a belief or the way of life. And in this meaning, it's very often used with the word last, the last. So here we choose the last because it's the last bastion. Yeah, Europe is often the last bastion. Western Spain is the last bastion. Again, we have two things here to consider. First, the difference in meaning, and secondly, the idiomatic meaning of one of the words and collocations. Next comes a preposition, which means that the choice will depend on the text, on the context, and on the words found before or after the gap. The gap number 5 describes the talks, is found in the sentence that talks about the number of breeding pairs of the Iberian lynx. and what happens to that number. And the immediately preceding the gap, we find down. So that number is down, of course, to 3, an estimated 3 breeding pairs. So the choice here is actually quite easy to make. In number 6, we find yet another kind of question. This time it's not just a word, it's a linking device, which means we'll need to understand the relation of sentences to each other. Gap number 6 is found between 2 sentences. As you see a comma, it means that the phrase that we choose is an introductory phrase, introductory word. So the sentence before gap 6 talks about the Iberian lynx and how the number of breeding pairs is down to only 3. And the sentence that is after, that includes gap number 6, talks about the brown bear. And we see that the number of brown bears has dwindled to fewer than 100. So the situation of the Iberian lynx and the brown bear are quite similar. It means that the linking device that we need to choose also needs to show the similarity of these 2 sentences. If we look again at the options presented to us, the options alternatively and otherwise suggest contrast between the different kinds of bits of information in the sentences. Meanwhile, shows that something is happening while something else is happening. This leaves us with likewise, which suggests similarity. All right. In number 7, something again is some other introductory phrase. So we talked about similar situation of the Iberian lynx and the brown bear, and in the very next sentence, let's look at what we are what we have there. And it says that there has been a steady migration of people from the country to the cities of Spain over the last 30 years. The thought doesn't stop here, as the countryside has been left devoid. People, vegetation in areas previously devoted to agriculture has returned. So the information that follows the description of a difficult situation of 2 animal species, we see it gives us some hope, some positive, some glimpse of positivity in the situation. It means we need our introductory phrase should show us that. Okay, what can work here structurally, grammatically, is on the contrary and on the flip side. On the contrary is usually used in a situation when we give some information and then suggest that it is not true, but actually what we will say next is true. And this means we need to choose flip side. On the flip side, on the other side of the coin, when some species are suffering, there can still be hope. And the last question, again, preposition. And this time it's a dependent preposition. It depends on the word that directly precedes the gap. The countryside has been left devoid. If we know the word devoid, we can choose without hesitation the preposition of, which is dependent on it. But Of is one of the most oftenly used prepositions in this situation, so that will probably be the first choice of most of the people. Okay, and since this is a task on a site, we can check the answers. Okay, is it working? I wonder. Is it working on the internet? Yeah, and they're all correct. Okay, well, let's go back to my presentation. I included the link here on the presentation. It's usual practice that the presentation is included into the materials which will appear on the site, I guess, tomorrow. So you can go there and practice as well. So as I said previously, this is a traditional type of task, multiple choice clause. One of the tasks which was used last year and is kind of new, not so widely spread. It's a it's not one type, it's several. They are all called verbal reasoning tasks. So what can be tested here? A similarity between two logical relations between pairs of words, how they relate to each other, also synonyms and antonyms. Again, here what is tested is the knowledge of the words, first of all, but also some logic is involved. But the logic of the kind that also helps us understand the meanings. Searching for the ways of preparation here, I found a couple of things. One of them is a quiz. I think many teachers have used this nice resource in their lessons during the COVID era and the era of distance learning, especially people who teach languages. This is something that helps me, for example, a lot. The exercise that I found here on quizzes is actually the one that helps to prepare for this kind of task. The words are quite easy, but the focus of the task is not to find the word that fits the sentence, for example, or fits the meaning of another word, but to find out what kind of relationship there is here. So we have spicy and pepper, bland and potato. And the question asks, what is the relationship between these words? Any suggestions? Here I open the chart again. Okay, yeah, the recording, yes. I think people who were present in the beginning heard this, the recording is in process warning, and had to press a button. So yes, the webinar is being recorded right now, and it's a usual practice to put all this on the website. Cause, effect, cause and effect. Right. Well, I think that's the obvious choice. Okay, I don't know. Can I do it now here? Oh no. Okay. Oh, right. Cause and effect. Okay, it doesn't let me put the answers here, but we can look at the answers later. So here we have happiness is to smiling as sadness is to crying. What is it? What is the relationship? Okay, can I have the chart? Quality. Right, of course, it's cause and effect. Happiness calls smiling, and sadness calls for crying. Okay, Right. Refuse is to accept as a proof is to reject. What is the relationship? The first one was about quality, maybe. Yeah, there's a refuse, accept. Yeah, antonyms, of course. Banjo is to instrument as red is to color. This is, of course, no, I don't agree it's part and whole, because banjo is not a part of an instrument. Banjo is an instrument and red is a color. It's, of course, item and category. Right. Swimmer is to swim team as guitarist is to band. I think part and whole, of course. Right. Right. Purpose is to reason as privacy is to time alone. Antonyms or synonyms? Well, I think the answer is, of course, obvious. They are synonyms. Right. Yeah. Receive is to offer as prepare is to delay. Again, antonyms or synonyms? They are, of course, antonyms. Yes, they are, of course. I agree, Maria. Yeah, purpose and reason are very different things, but I think here we do not have like strict logic, but something more general. Yeah. All right. Okay, so this is, of course, not a difficult task to do, especially for grown-up people and teachers, but you can see that this kind of thing can be offered to students, quite young students actually, for them to understand the relationship between words. And this is as I mentioned, a preparation task. Now, let's look at something else. I think this is it. Yes. Okay. This is a bit more, well, not very difficult. No, it's the easy level, but many more options. And this time you choose not from the type of relationship, but from the words. A stands to cow as wool stands to what? So the relationship is probably an animal and what the animal produces, right? And because in the first part we see the animal, and in the second we see something else produced by another animal, and this gives us as answer, of course, milk, which is produced by the cow, and sheep, which produces wool. Here we have the cause and result relationship. In the next one, also quite easy one, the relationship is okay, small, long. Probably we have what small and big antonyms, and long and short. This is the synonymity. Something stands to plane, a train driver stands to. Well, we have what? We have a means of transport and the driver of that transport. So the person who drives the plane is obviously the pilot, and the train driver drives the train, and so on and so forth. Okay, maybe yes. Racing and Maradona, we have a personality, and the kind of sport that personality is involved in is associated with. That's of course racing. I know Schumacher in racing, yes, only one name, and Maradona in football. and so on and so forth. I've chosen here the easy test, as you see, but the purpose here was not to try difficult words, because with more difficult words you just have to think to pay attention to the bases of the words. Are they positive or negative, for example? What can you derive from the form? Which words you can take out of the choice because you obviously see that they do not fit. But the main thing in this kind of task, in verbal reasoning task, is to understand the relationship between the two stem words given to you, and then choose your answer. So until you see clearly what kind of relationship is there, it's not maybe good to look at the answer options. Okay, so also okay, oh, that's the end of the presentation, I'm sorry. Also, I mentioned synonyms. So the difficulty with the synonyms is that you don't even have a relationship or anything except the word. This is a situation where you either know or not. If you know, you can make a guess. If you don't, you can't. But well, at least we have 4 options, and looking at the 4 options, well, one of the strategies is to see at similarities, and if you have 2 or 3 very similar meanings, they're probably not the right answer. So in number 1, the keyword. Right. Yeah, Schumacher, football, TV, and listening. That's about the previous. I agree, Maria. Yes, it becomes quite a tricky task, exactly because you need to know the words, right? But well, this is a competition, and whoever knows more words can win. Yeah. Become tricky. It was absolutely impossible, right? Yeah, it can be really difficult, can be. Error in number 1. Thank you for your answer. Yes. Chaste in number 2. We have boring, closed, pious, and pure. Right. Okay. Well, chastise means to criticize somebody in a religious way, usually, about their behavior, their bad behavior. And the synonym to chaste would be pure, actually. Salient. Oh, here's the case. I'm not at all sure. I know salient. I saw it somewhere, sometime. Don't remember exactly the meaning, but I'm quite sure it is not modern or striking. Otherwise, I would see it more often, because we very often discuss modern things, especially when preparing for YEGA, and this nice word would come up here or there. Northern French is something very odd to put here. So probably it would be unimportant. Okay, yeah, synonyms, right. Chink. For some reason, I think it's the rift, not the bank, obviously, not a tree, and not a customs officer. Again, customs officer, very strange option here. I would choose rift. Okay, people think striking. Okay, let me agree with you and put striking as the synonym for salient. Okay, lard. I think for the Russian language, the word is international. We have the word in the Russian, and it is, of course, fat. And our active participants agree with me. Nice to see that. Sleeper, that's an interesting thing to think of. Fencing, fur collar, bar, or crusty. Well, I know that fencing is a martial art. Fur collar is a fur collar. Bar, all right, some association maybe with that. But again, right. Well, I can tell you that I was too lazy to check the dictionary and chose fur collar, and it was not correct. So one of the strategies here can be, okay, I'm pretty sure that I've never seen this word used as a synonym for fencing, for fur collar or bar. Let's go for the strange word which I don't know, the crusty. Ultramarine, that's the easy thing to do, to solve. Ultramarine, we know the word, we use it in our language, and it's a synonym for blue. The color of the sea. Rascal. Rascal is a negative word to describe someone. Gang member. Bar as a metal bar. Okay. Yeah, could be a metal bar. Why not? Okay, rascal is some, okay. Gang member, bully. Let's go for bully. Boat fly. It's an insect, obviously, because we have the word fly, which lets us to put away jackrabbit and fishing net. Which are both some instruments actually, and both midge and gadfly are insects too, and maybe the most similar is the gadfly, only because it has fly in it. Okay, hello. Again, an international word. What is the hello? If you know what it is, you would probably go for corona. This is some kind of light that we can see around the sun, some circle. Pediatrics, again, an international word, which means, of course, infant health care. Liquidate. Oh, I'm sorry. It opened here. Liquidate. Any suggestions? What can it mean? Settle. All right, let's do it. And adjunct. Routine check, army commander, prefix or advocate. Well, one of the things that come to mind is the adjunct professor, for example, or adjutant, the Russian adjutant. But actually, adjunct means something that is added, and prefix is the best option here. And here's the benefit of doing that on some site. We can check and see the score. Right, the result is, okay, we have 13 correct answers and no incorrect ones. Right. So thank you, people who told me to choose striking for salient when I was going for an important. Well done. Okay, so the link to this site, which lets you practice verbal reasoning, antonyms and synonyms, is included in the presentation. Here I am stopping my presentation, and this has taken us exactly 1.5 hours. Thank you very much for all the people who took part in doing the tasks. I hope that you first enjoyed it, and second found it useful, and that this will help you in your Olympiad preparation. And I'm particularly pleased, maybe, or yeah, by the number of people that showed up this time. Thank you very much. I will see you next week to discuss the reading tasks and the grammar. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking part. Great. Yeah, thank you, Lena. Yeah, interesting and useful. Thank you. Yeah, I will be here in a week's time. Right. It's nice to see your thanks and all your comments. I enjoyed working with you. Thank you. You too. All right. Well, yeah, I'm reading all your thanks. We'll see them in the chat, which my Zoom saves all the time. Thank you. I will have a nice evening. We'll try to. Nice evening spent in preparations for tomorrow lessons, as probably you will have similar one. All right, I'm finishing the conference. Once again, thank you everybody who have found time to take part in this, especially to those who actually took part in doing the tasks and given their comments. Thanks again. Goodbye.